To introduce ourselves, I am Annabel Sim, the VP of Sales at Compleat Software. I've been working at the company for 7.5 years, and I manage both the direct sales and our partner network in the UK and US. So looking forward to the session. I'll pass over to Charlotte.
Thanks, Annabel. Hi everyone, my name is Charlotte Newman. I am a strategic partner manager here at Compleat. I've been with the business since 2017, and my current role focuses on managing and working with our key strategic partners around partner enablement, partner revenue growth, and really ongoing success of the partnerships and joint customers.
Perfect, thanks Charlotte. So during today's session, a bit of an agenda. We'll be starting by providing an introduction to Compleat Software, so who we are, an overview of our accounts payable and purchasing solution, including a key differentiator, which is our integrated online buying platform. Charlotte will be providing a live demonstration, so you'll be able to see our solution end to end and understand exactly how it works and how it integrates in real time with Sage 200 and also Sage Intacct. And then finally, we'll take you through some of the key benefits of partnering with us, then open it up to any questions that you might have. So to begin with, Compleat Software was founded in 2008 in the UK, delivering leading purchasing and accounts payable solutions that extend the functionality available within the finance system, including Sage 200 and Sage Intacct as mentioned. So our customers can access the functionality that they require integrated with their existing Sage investment. We now have over 30,000 users and process millions of invoices per year powered by AI technology. We have UK-based support, implementation and customer success, which are important to our customers and partners based in the UK. We have hundreds of customers on Sage solutions alone, and our products scale whether your customers process 1,000 invoices to 100,000 invoices per year, because it's offered at an affordable price point. We have onboarded Sage customers in a wide variety of sectors, which you can see some of them on screen here, including education, non-profit, retail, leisure, energy, manufacturing, construction, software, and managed IT sectors. Compleat works with both SMEs who might just use our digital invoice capture and accounts payable solution, and scales to larger organizations, including Lomond with 50 acquisitions, 12 leading brands processing 50,000 invoices a year, for example. So Compleat offers accounts payable automation with AI-powered header and line invoice data extraction in any format, language, currency, irrespective of number of pages, and multi-page invoices can be processed for as little as 20 pence per invoice. So this screen really just provides a bit of a summary of our digital invoice capture and accounts payable automation solution as a starting point. With the real-time integrations with Sage Solutions, we perform duplicate invoice checking, bank detail validation to reduce risk, as well as automatic completion of analysis codes to remove the manual steps in the process and increase productivity by up to 90%. Our dynamic approval workflow is certainly a standout feature, which we get continuous feedback on, which enhances the native approval functionality available across all Sage products, including workflow routing based on multiple conditions, such as locations, departments, and projects, and simultaneous approvals when one transaction needs to be approved by multiple different users, for example, when a transaction is coded across multiple different departments is a key example that comes up. Once invoices have been captured, coded, validated, and approved, this is the point in which those approved invoices would be automatically transferred in real time across to the integrated Sage platform. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of the accounts payable process as a starting point. Moving on to the purchasing side, and just to explain how our purchasing automation solution works. One of our key differentiators in the market is our integrated online buying solution. We have over 50 online supplier website integrations, and this is fast growing. We partner with Amazon Business to offer punch-in integration to our customers, as well as integrations with Screwfix, Lyrico, eBay, and many more. This functionality essentially removes the manual data entry of raising a purchase request because the basket from the supplier's website is integrated directly into Compleat for approval and invoice matching. So, as well as providing the best user experience to maximize user adoption, which is key, it provides the business with visibility and control over purchases made and automates the accounts payable process. So I'll now be passing over to Charlotte to provide a live demonstration of how this all ties together, from integrated online buying, purchasing automation, the invoice capture, matching and approval side, and she'll highlight some of the key functionality and features that hopefully you're going to be interested in seeing and learning more about.
Lovely, thank you, Annabel. And can I just make sure that that is product that you're now seeing on screen?
We can indeed.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so Compleat is a browser-based application, so accessible from any preferred browser or any device. It's also optimized for mobile phone use for access on the go. So I'm just going to log in. Each user that has access to the software logs in with their unique email address and password. And when I land on the Compleat homepage, I am presented with a view based on user permissions associated to my user. So information that's relevant and valuable based on that information. Today, we're starting with the view of a super user, so someone that's got access to everything within the system. The first thing I'll point out is in the top right-hand side, you'll see which company I'm currently viewing. So users with the appropriate permissions can switch between each Compleat company. So the way that we set that up is to mirror the configuration of the integrated finance system. So that allows for multi-company and multi-entity structures. You can also have multiple companies integrated with multiple finance systems within one Compleat instance. So I'll be moving between these two companies today as part of the session, integrated one with Intact, one with 200, and I will then go into the specifics of the Sage 200 integration a bit later on in the demonstration. So what I'll start with is the purchasing side of the system, the beginning of the process. We have two ways that purchase requests can be made within our software. The first is to raise a manual purchase request using our requisition form, or to buy online with one of our integrated suppliers. Annabelle's already introduced that we do have this unique functionality around online purchasing. So we do have some standardized punch-out integrations that are available to our customers out of the box. But we also have this unique add-on, which we've called plugin, which enables that same integrated purchasing experience with pretty much any online supplier website, and those are made available to our customers, and they have access to them on their home screen if they have the purchasing permission. So I'm going to start today just with Amazon Business as an example. So the user clicks on that supplier logo on their home screen, and I'll be taken directly out to that supplier's website. When I land on that supplier website, if we have a specific account with that supplier, then that is logged into straight away as part of the integration. And then from this point forward, the experience for the end user would be exactly the same as if they were starting that purchase with that online supplier. So I'll just key in that I'm going to look for some pens, start to build out that basket as you would do normally. Just add these. Update the quantities as you would do. Add the items to my basket. And then once I'm happy with everything that's added to my basket, I now have this button here to submit these items for approval. So what that does is takes the contents of that online supplier's basket that you've populated, pulls it back through into Compleat, and automatically populates a purchase request. Now, I do apologise, it feels like it's running slightly slow. That is due to an old laptop and nothing else, but bear with me and we should be good to go. Fantastic. So what you can see is the contents of that basket, the items that I've added have been pulled back through into Compleat and has automatically populated a purchase request. All of the key information has been filled out for me. Obviously, we know who the supplier is, the title's been created for us. The delivery address is predefined based on the individual user and their defaults. And then down here, we have everything down to the item code, description, obviously our costs and quantities. And then here you can also see that the analysis that is required when I raise a purchase request has been preset for me as well. So defaults can be created for users based on the supplier or other information that might be pertinent to the request. And the way that the coding is structured is all dependent on that integration. So how that customer is using the Sage product, what GL codes, departments, if it's intact locations, for example, that they might be using. From here, the user has a couple of options. There's the action, they can add notes or attachments if there's anything that's pertinent to the approval of this particular request, or what I can actually just do now is submit that through a predefined approval workflow that's available to me for authorization. So if I click on that button there, it's going to send that purchase request through that predefined approval route. As a purchasing user, you have a number of trays that you have access to. The first is just the saved tray. So this is purchase requests or transactions that I've started but haven't yet finished. So they're saved if I want to come back to them. I have this submitted tray, which gives me oversight of all the purchase requests that are currently out within the business for approval. I can see who the current approver is. And at any time until that's a fully approved purchase order, I can recall that. I can make edits, amend that purchase request if I need to. So what I'm going to do now is just log off as this primary user and log back in as one of our approval users, just so I can take you through the approver's experience. So what happens when a transaction is submitted for approval? The first approver in that workflow will receive an email notification that there's a transaction that requires their review. They can click on a link in that email to log straight into Compleat. And when they log in, again, you can see this is a much more restricted view based on the permissions of this approval user. They can click in and go to that manage orders area of the system. They'll then be able to see any transactions that are currently awaiting their approval. At the top there is the purchase request that we have just raised with Amazon. So if I click into that transaction, the approver gets access to all the same information that's been detailed on the purchase request. So they get an overview of the items, the analysis, they can review, interact, and then down here they've got the simple option to approve or deny, and they can also add a comment associated to that approval or denial of the transaction. So if I click to approve that purchase, what that will do is send through to the next step in the approval workflow. In case we know this is the final approval step for this type of transaction, could be based on the fact that it's a low value or based on the supplier. And you can see that's landed at the top of our approved tray. If I click into that approved order now and go through here to documents and timeline, what you get for each transaction within Compleat is a full overview of the journey of that transaction. So I can see the user that submitted the request and the date and time, who approved it, any comments associated to that approval, again, a date and time stamp. And you can see in this case that this order has been successfully issued electronically on this date and time. So the process with an integrated supplier like Amazon is once that purchase request has been approved, we go back out to the Amazon website automatically, provide Amazon with the unique purchase order reference number and complete that purchase. Amazon then have that purchase order reference when they need to send the invoice or invoices associated to that purchase. With a manual purchase request, the process is very similar, but this document is actually the document that's issued out to suppliers automatically once it's been approved via email. So this purchase order PDF is issued. They're slightly customizable per company within Compleat. So if customers have their own branding, colors, logos, additional information that they want to be submitting to standard suppliers alongside the purchase order, such as terms and conditions, that can all be configured within the system as well. So what I will do is just log back in as our super user. And I'll quickly touch on the configuration of those approval workflows. We've looked at the approvers experience, but how are those workflows configured? So within configuration and within manage workflow, customers can have as many workflows set up as they like. If we look at this top workflow as an example. So the first thing that's determined when building out these workflows is the type of transaction that the workflow is relevant to. So a lot of businesses will have different routes or processes depending on whether we're looking at a purchase order or an invoice. And then the workflows can be built out from there. So unlimited positions, multi-position hierarchy workflow. You can see here, Annabel already introduced that we have this concept of a simultaneous approval. So here we have multiple approval groups within one position in the workflow. And what that means is each of those groups will receive the transaction based on the criteria, and it will require an individual from each of those groups to approve effectively their portion of the transaction before it progresses on to the next step in the workflow. If I click into this group, you can see if we have a group concept where there's multiple users within one step in the workflow, in that scenario, it's effectively a distribution of work. So you can send that transaction to multiple people at the same time, but only one of them needs to see it for it to progress onto the next step. And then we have another step here. In this example, we have a value-based threshold associated. So in this example, it's if the net value of the transaction is £10,000 or above, then this user needs to see it. But you can also build out criteria based on things such as the coding of the transaction. So for example, if the transaction has a line item that's coded to a particular department, then this group of users or user needs to see it. And you can build that out using that simultaneous or parallel approval step, just reducing the number of workflows required, reducing the decision making by the end users in terms of actually where they need to send that transaction from a workflow point of view, and letting the system dynamically route transactions based on that pre-configured criteria. Okay, so what we will touch on now is what happens from an invoice perspective. So the purchase request has been sent out, the purchase order has been issued, and then we're looking at invoices that are coming back into the system. Let's just reload. There we go. So at the core of what Compleat offers is the invoice data capture piece. We have a piece of technology called Compleat Capture, which extracts all header and line item information, as well as other things such as bank details from the invoice documents that we receive for our customers. So the route to get those invoices into the system is via a unique email address per company, per customer. If a customer has, say, a finance at or an invoices at inbox that they already have set up in their finance team, an auto forward can send those invoices directly across to us. Best practice is always that we provide that email address directly to those customer suppliers. I think it's worth noting that when transactions are received into Compleat Capture, the system identifies which documents are invoices. If there are documents being sent through to that address that are not invoices, those are just automatically rerouted out with no charge to the customer. And if there are additional documents attached to the email alongside the invoice that are valuable, those are delivered down against the transaction and against the invoice record within the system as well. So if I go into manage invoices, we can have a look at how that presents to our AP users or finance team users. So the first tray that an AP user would have access to is the unprocessed tray. The reason an invoice would land in the unprocessed tray is because it requires some form of intervention from the AP team. It might be that there's a matching status that means that it requires additional checks before it progresses. In the ideal world, invoices are coming in and are matching off, but you can see an example around a part match. We can match obviously multiple invoices against one order. If there's a value mismatch, that would need intervention. We do that duplicate invoice check that Annabel referenced as well, using the unique invoice number supply reference that's captured off the document, cross-referencing that against all transactions available within Compleat. But in the top here, we can see an invoice come in from Amazon that's matched to an order that we previously raised. When looking at an invoice, you can see all of the data, the header and line information that's been extracted, review the matching status, review the actual purchase order that it's been matched against, all of the data, item code, description, etc. Again, you can see that our coding has been defaulted. So from an invoice perspective, that could be based on the supplier. It could be based on key criteria that's captured in the description on the invoice. And you can also review related transactions here. So in a case where you do have multiple invoices matching off against a single order, you could see all of those invoices associated to the order, any outstanding balance, etc. So from here, the finance user needs to make a decision on what to do next. If they needed to interact with any of the coding that's been preset for them, they've got a quick actions tool here to interact and do so. Or they just need to click to submit that out for authorization, ready to go through into the finance system. So in this case, I'm just going to set it to auto approve, and that will send that through either through a workflow, or if you have an auto approval whereby a rule set says if the invoice matches the order, then you're happy for that to post straight through. That can be set up as well. So finance also have a submitted tray from an invoice perspective. So this gives finance visibility on all of the invoices that are currently out within the business for approval. They can see who the current approver is. They can issue approver nudges if people are being slow on approving things, for example. But they maintain visibility and control over the invoices while they're out in the business. So at any point in time, if they need to recall that transaction, they can do so. And then once an invoice has been fully approved, it's at that point in time that it will post through. I won't go through another approval because the experience, whether you're approving a purchase order or a purchase invoice, is exactly the same. But once that is approved, it posts through into the integrated finance system. So if I click on this example just here and go through to documents and timeline, I have a full overview of the journey that that invoice has gone through, the finance user that submitted it for authorization, any approvals or auto approvals, and the date and time that it was posted through to the integrated finance system, the journal reference number associated, and obviously visibility of the invoice document itself. So I'll just show you what that looks like specifically from a Sage 200 perspective. So I'll toggle into my integrated Sage 200 company and go into manage invoices. And into that approved tray. So you can see a number of transactions. We'll maybe have a look for this top one here, 27026 within Sage 200. So when we post to Sage 200, we're posting to the purchase ledger and the nominal ledger. So if I want to see what a complete posting in Sage 200 looks like, if I just search for the account code that I've allocated the transaction to, click into it, I can then see the recent postings. If we look at the transaction 27026, if I click in, I can see an overview of the header and line information that's been posted through into Sage 200 for us. And I also have here under narrative, the unique URL which references back to the invoice within Compleat. So if I copy that, go back into my browser and pop that in there. Assuming I have the correct permissions within Compleat, it will open up a unique URL for that approved invoice where we can go back through and view, as we just did, the documents and timeline for that associated transaction. So that's also stored in Sage 200 as a point of reference, which is incredibly useful. Okay, I hope I didn't whiz through that too much, but hopefully that was a really useful example just of the end-to-end journey from an online purchase, an approval and authorization, what happens when the invoices come in and are matched off against the orders, and how we post through into Sage 200 specifically. We do have a number of other features. I mentioned the manual requisition form. We do also have some out-of-the-box reports here, which are useful, things around cash requirements, accruals. We don't have time to go through that today, but if anyone does want to see more, obviously Annabel and I are very happy to arrange a meeting for a more detailed overview if that's needed.
Brilliant, Charlotte. Thanks very much for that. So, a couple of questions in the chat. First of all, someone has said, "What about handling delivery costs? Could you cover that a little bit?"
Yeah, so in terms of deliveries, there's two different ways that our customers would opt to manage that process. Either we have the receipting function within Compleat, so when an order is raised, users can then confirm delivery using the receipting functionality, which can either be by value or quantity, and then can also be receipted by lines. So that function exists within the system, can be turned on per supplier, so you don't have to have that enabled across all, and then would enable the three-way matching when the invoice arrives. So you have the order delivery confirmation, whether partially or full, and then the invoice matching function thereafter. So that's what the one way in which it can be covered. Other customers where they don't want that receipting step as a discrete function would have the invoices captured automatically, match back to the order, and then we have the ability to automatically route that invoice back to either the order creator or the appropriate approval workflow for that department, project, etc., to confirm delivery at that stage before the invoice is posted automatically into Sage 200.
Brilliant, great stuff. Got another question. Can the PO system integrate with Sage 200 stock?
Yes, so if there is a customer that is or required to raise orders within Sage 200 or another finance system because they are managing stock, then we do have a PO API where those transactions can be pulled into Compleat or populated into Compleat and then stored for matching. That would be just a conversation with the partner just to determine the exact functionality that's enabled within Sage 200, whether they're using the receipting, which would then be pulled through for invoice matching as well. But yeah, we do have customers using Compleat in that way for the invoice capture and reconciliation piece, and we'd be happy to have the conversation about the use cases that they come across or particular customers that they would be looking for that.
Excellent. A couple more. How easy is it to add new supplier website integrations for clients?
Sure. So as mentioned, we've got over 50 at the moment. Some of them are the larger suppliers like Amazon, Staples, Screwfix, etc., which have CXML capabilities, which is essentially that punch out or punch in, which we showed with Amazon Business. The plugin that Charlotte referred to is actually driven with AI technology, and we can add new supplier websites, which can be large or smaller suppliers, which is quite an important element. Really, when we send it to the team to test a new one, they do it within a 24-hour turnaround time. That's scheduling the time, doing it and getting back to us. The actual facility of testing and adding a new one itself is about 10 to 20 minutes with our new functionality with the integrated online buying function.
Excellent, Annabel. A couple more. Sorry, we've got one. What proportion of clients adopt purchasing as well as accounts payable automation?
Sure, that's an interesting one. I think a few years ago, accounts payable automation would be the main driver and the main functionality that clients would opt for and sign up to. But these days, 8, 9 out of 10 customers would opt for purchasing automation as well, purely because with the integrated online buying, it's so easy to roll that out because the user experience is so automated. They can shop online exactly as they would in their personal lives for business purchases without having to manually create requisitions and have that process being somewhat cumbersome with offline catalogs and pricing decisions and things like that. So with that functionality, it is adopted in 80 to 90% of our new implementations with customers that we onboard. Our contact details are on the last slide, which we might just want to skip to because we've done quite a few of the questions already, unless there's any more. But yeah, both of our email addresses are referenced here, so feel free to reach out if you want either a more in-depth demonstration to discuss your business, client profiles, a fit, etc. Yeah, thank you for joining the session, and Michael for adding us in today.
No, we do have.
Thank
Well,
you.
I've got one more question, Annabelle. Actually, if that's
Go
all right.
ahead, please.
It is. Will this work with Sage 200 standard, or is it just professional?
Sure. So Sage 200 Professional is an out-of-the-box real-time integration via our API. With Sage 200 Standard, we do also have file transfer options. So yes, we can integrate with any of the Sage solutions. The means in which we do just vary slightly, whether it's a cloud or on-premise. Sage 50, for example, is on-premise. Sage 200's got both options, and then Sage Intacct is cloud. So we can integrate with all, just slightly different methods depending on hosting and the details of that.
Excellent, brilliant. Charlotte, anything else you'd like to add, or you're all happy with that?
No, that's all from me. Thank you for having us.